Part 57. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 562. Scolding before the May 2nd World War. I wish you all a happy Mid-Autumn Festival. I sent 5 chapters today, I hope you feel happy. Cruel and innocent, how is this corpse Yinzong's method different from those outside the demon? Yekong yelled. Which of these innocent people were not raised by their parents and they have offended anyone, but they will be turned into zombies. There is no chance of reincarnation. Ecchi was indignant, but those ancestors were concerned about another issue. Acacia Zone Yitong's ancestors had a thinner mind and groaned at the moment. It seems that this corpse Yinzong has been prepared, and these hundreds of thousands of zombies have long been ambushed under the surrounding sea. She said that the ancestors of all factions took a step back and looked skeptically at the 5 mixed UN Zone UN infants behind Yekong. Li Haoshan busy said, we really don't know. It must have been Lei Miao secretly colluding with the dead Yin section. Huang Hao was hot-tempered and angered. If you are monks Jidan, I still believe, but you are all Yuanying monks. You will know when you release your consciousness, the hundreds of thousands of zombies of the corpse Yinzong, how much movement, how could it not be known? Li Haoshan smiled bitterly, things of the Yuan dynasty are all taken care of by Lei Miao. We never care. This is because we have to go out of the customs because otherwise, we are still retreating. Besides, Lei Miao's order is very hidden. Have you lived here for 7 or 8 days, do you feel strange? The ancestor of the spirit beast Leng hummed, when we first arrived, we thought that someone was going to plot us. It was impossible to do it once, and it was done twice. Wei Xianrong's temperament was the most stubborn in Yuanzong's 5 great babies. He was stunned by the beast and immediately said, you beast, what do you say? We have proved to be blinded by Lei Miao, what else do you want? Huang Hao shouted, kids, smash their blood and jade quickly, otherwise we will only have a dead end when they are pinched against the enemy inside and out. Seeing that there was no killing outside, the inside was coaxing, Yekong said quickly, seniors, I want to tell you one thing, I totally trust my 5 Yuan babies. The reason is simple. Everything they do is for the mixed Yuan zone. Blindfolded by Lei Miao, and attacked us with the dead Yinzong, they are for the mixed UN zone. Now they swear to me, to share with all denominations the advance and retreat are also for the UN dynasty. Ask, since they are all for the UN zone, how can they tolerate the evil array that destroys the world and ruins the world around him? Yuanying of all factions thought and said the same thing. Although the 5 great UN infants have fought against other factions, they are also loyal to the mixed UN sect, and they should not allow others to use this formation around their sect. The 5 big babies walked around the gate of the gate in a blink of an eye. If the suzerain was really a confused person and killed them at once, they would have no claim for any grievances. When they heard Yekong's complete trust, they were even more excited. This kind of suzerain can make himself meet, it is a great blessing in this life, and he is willing to die for him. Xiezongji trust, the excited eyes of the 5 big babies looking at someone, made someone's back hair erected. Everyone, Buddy just said that you should be trusted. You don't need to make a promise to each other. Buddy has little interest in chrysanthemums for men, especially old men. After hearing Yekong's remarks, Zhou Yuanying's suspicions have also been eliminated. Cao Guang nodded and said, the dead Yin sect really is very poisonous. If I didn't guess wrong, these zombies are prepared to deal with the mixed ancestors. On that day, if we were all killed by the mixed ancestors of the mixed genre, Zone will then use the Soul Eater to destroy the mixed UN zone in one fell swoop. Zhou Yuanying also nodded, the analysis makes sense, the mantis catches the cicada, the yellow sparrow is behind, and the dead Yin sect really is extremely poisonous. The 5 great babies looked at Yekong again gratefully. If the new suzerain reported in public and stopped the immortal from killing, they would also be killed by the corpse Yinzong's formation. Unknowingly, the suzerain had saved all the mixed UN suicides. He did not practice well, but he dared to use swordsmen. Forcibly occupying the Yuan sect, destroying the Zuyuan sect, killing Lei Miao's ancestors and piles and pieces, it is a great crime. My corpse Yanzong can't see the eyes and help justice, to maintain peace in the Kangnan Xianxian realm. Let's go to the heavenly walkway, wait for your peace of mind and die. The roar of the fallen ancestor came from outside. Huang Hao's ancestor laughed in the battle, and infused with spiritual powers and cursed, "God damn. You mother, don't stop pretending, what's going on? Who doesn't know? If you come up with this set of rhetoric, you are an outrageous villain who learns from hypocrites, but my father is really sad for your father." Skyfall was annoyed by his scolding, raised his hand and took out a bright red banner, and said, "Huang Hao, you're so restless. Let you taste the power of my Dewan zombie soul formation. When you let me do it, your father, I don't want it. I'm your mother. I don't want you to be my grandson. I'll get your mother. I your ancestor." The two scolded in public and heard countless disciples fainted. It's really unexpected, before the original ancestors of Yuanying had to scold their mother first. In addition to Huang Hao here, there is also a royal beast who also swears, and the words are so dirty that Yekong, the hooligan, cannot hear it. The other ancestors pretended to be inaudible and left a distance from the two rough men. One fell from the sky and two fell from the sky, and then the beast of the beast shouted, "Falling children, can you dare to fight with me? If you dare not fight, it means that you are a sinner of my birth. Mother asked me to give her a fairy seed, ha ha ha." Only then did Yekong understand that it was also purposeful to dare to swear at them so much, that he wanted to anger the sky and urge him to fight next. But the fallen ancestors are not rash, even smarter than them. How can they be stupid enough to fight them? "You beast, you dare to open up the big array, if you dare not come out, your father is born to me, ha, grandson." The fall of the sky was not provoked, but Huang Hao, who was grumpy, was angry first, and roared, "Fallen to heaven, all the tricks will be brought out." Grandpa continues. "I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it," he sighed coldly, and the banner slowly spread out. As soon as the scarlet flag opened, a breath rushed up into the clouds, the wind was rising, and the black mist was swirling, and it looked like an evil thing. "Stand by for the army, listen to my orders. Soul Eater, strengthen my army. Ghost and Wraith, come out." As the sky groaned, hundreds of thousands of zombies snarled in their hair. Moonlight was like silver. On the sea around the island, hundreds of thousands of zombies were screaming heads up. The sight was really scary. All the disciples hiding in the large formation felt that they were cold. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 563. 5 or 6-3 Energy. Even more frightening is still behind. From the mouths of the zombies, black and gray mists were sprayed out, which were human souls. Those mists had images of the dead, old people and children, but they all looked fierce and blood red. These are grieving spirits. Miserable death or torture to death, the soul of the deceased will become grieving spirits. These grieving spirits with deep hatred, bite when they see people, very fierce. Soon, hundreds of thousands of grieving spirits appeared, a black one, and the sound of heartbreaking howls made people feel as if they were close to the large array of grieving spirits, and they hit the large array of madness every time. With a shrill scream, the female disciples of He Huanzong were frightened. Huang Hao Leng hummed. "It's so charming, it scares girls and children. Use these to deal with our monk, falling into the sky. Don't you think it's too naive?" "Don't worry, you'll soon find out if it's naive," the sky sneered, and the red flag in the hand was swinging again. Then he bit his middle finger, spit out blood, and roared, 100,000 zombie. I order. Get together." After he roared, All the wraiths of the zombies were all wandering together. It looks like they don't want to get together, but under the command of the sky, the more grieving spirits get together. Soon, those howling sounds disappeared, and the wraiths all gathered into a thick black and grey mist. Subsequently, the mist group shrank and slowly showed a maggot, and a unicorn ghost king with a few feet appeared, and it was surprising that the maggot ghost king had a physical body. Roar! The ghost king strode on the mixed UN sovereign island, shaking the ground for a while, and it slammed a punch on the large array again. Boom! The sound was deafening, and the large wave of resistance to the impact of the meteor shower was crumbling, and the situation was worrying. Quickly replace the spirit stone for the large array, Li Haoshan ordered, and the disciples of the Yuan Zone Shao array rushed to replace the spirit stone. However, even if the spirit stone is replaced, it can't stop the ghost king from smashing the waves. This ghost king has at least the latter's cultivation. Lian Fanchen frowned. However, a shout that immediately fell to the sky made the crowd even more surprised. He shouted, 100,000 resentment spirits, or the resentment spirits of 100,000 zombies, are already condensed into ghost emperors. Enjoy it. Ghost emperor. That's already equivalent to the cultivation of God. Yi Tong's ancestor stared in surprise. Huang Hao said coldly, don't listen to him blowing the atmosphere. Then he shouted at the outside, this is the secret weapon of your corpse yin zone? Well, let you see our secret weapon of the refiner zone. When Huang Hao finished speaking, he called a monk of alchemy ancestors, handed him a storage ring, and commanded, arranged in the gaps that every large array can open. Yes, Monk Nathan took the storage ring and left, followed by a large group of monk sects. Yekong and his ancestors were very curious, and they wanted to see what secret weapons the alchemist sect had. I saw that when the ancestors of Jadan went to the battlefield, there was a storage ring, and then a huge cannon appeared. Then, 3 disciples ran up, 2 adjusted the angle, and 1 prepared a shell. The movements are familiar, and at a glance you know that you are well trained. Spar artillery, everyone stunned. Yekong was the first time he saw the spar cannon, and he could not help but glance at it. The spar cannon does not have the length of the modern Earth's barrel, and it is somewhat similar to the ancient red cannon, but the muzzle is much thicker, and the black holes are more than human heads. Huang Hao shook his head proudly and said, my artillery cannon is not as simple as an ordinary spar cannon. This spar cannon is simpler to use and more powerful, especially with the concentration of spiritual energy in the barrel. The formation method not only increased the power several times, but also saved the use of spirit stones. We named it, the energy cannon. Yekong felt itchy and didn't know if Huang Hao's old man was selling or not. If he placed a few cannons on the hills of the mixed UN zone, his old nest would be solid. Yekong walked between the gods. The 36 cannons below were ready. Li Haoshan asked, Sect, do you want to open some of the eyes? Yes, Yekong nodded. Let's see how powerful this gun is. The array of eyes opened dozens of gaps, and the energy-saving gun pushed forward several feet, and then Huang Hao's ancestor ordered, fire. The disciples rushed to put the spirit stone at the formation behind the gun barrel. Yekong noticed that it was a middle-class spirit stone. After putting the shining stones of various colors on it, they were quickly dried by the cannon and turned into a gray stone. Then the disciples who fired the gun put another one, and kept changing it for 3, only to see the white light at the muzzle. However, you can see that the white light is not absorbed outward, but absorbed inward. If you stand in front of the muzzle, you can see that the white light inside is getting brighter and brighter. Yekong suggested that the battlefield situation is changing rapidly, and each time you fire a gun, you have to change the spirit stone 3 times. It's too time consuming. Huang Hao laughed, you don't have to do that. In fact, you can put a spirit stone. The reason why I use a matrix method is to control the power by the number of spirit stones. If you put a high-quality spirit stone, it is not convenient? Yekong nodded, and said, if you put a top-quality spirit stone, how powerful is it? Boom, there was a sudden loud noise, and 36 concentrated energy cannons bombarded at the same time. The artillery of the immortal realm was not a projectile shell. It emitted white light, and a huge white beam of light was released from the energy-gathering muzzle. This scene reminds Yekong of Wu Dezianjun's extinction light, but although the energy gun is loud, it is far worse than extinction light. Fairy magic, how can the world's magical instruments compare? Immediately bombarded by the gunner, 36 holes were immediately appeared on the body of the unicorn ghost emperor, and a stream of grey-white gas flowed out of the hole. Just when everyone was excited about the power of the energy gun, the fallen ancestor snorted scornfully, and threw another red banner. I saw that the wounds of the ghost emperor had all recovered. The wounded ghost emperor is even more crazy. It surrounds a lot of grey gas flowing out of the wound just now. It slammed away, shook off the gas, and swooped up again, reaching into the gap of the huge ghost claws. Grab the accumulator inside. I'm coming. Wang Jun of Sword Dock saw that Huang Hao was performing, and he couldn't fall behind. After he flew out, he pulled out a large glittering sword and turned back and smiled in the direction of Yekong. My sword is the same as the one I sent you, except that I have sacrificed the soul of a late monk in the late infantry. As an instrumental spirit, it is now a superior and advanced magical instrument. I hope your night dance can surpass it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 564. Chaos. Wang Jun's words surprised everyone, especially Huang Hao's ancestors. I did not expect that Wang Jun had such a profound cultivation practice that even Yuan Ying could be killed in the later period. Wang Jun himself is only 7 layers of Yuan Ying, just entered the late Yuan Ying. It seems that this person is really his own rival. The other Yuan Yings were also surprised, all silently thought that it seemed that they would have a good relationship with Sword Dock in the future. There is a monk who can slay Yuan Ying's later ability, of course. Being a friend is much better than being an enemy. At the same time they murmured, which ancestor of the late Yuan Ying he was beheaded, why didn't he hear? Yekong shook his head and smiled bitterly, beating and killing Yuan Ying in his late life. He dreamed of him. Even if he was injured, Shi Dingfeng was not an opponent at all. If you want to surpass Wang Jun's knife, then you must kill the monk of the god. Well, it's nice to have a monk of the god standing without chopping himself. This was just Yekong's self-deprecating thought. One day, he could think of a monk who could stand still and let him cut. In the sky over there. After Wang Jun said it, he turned around, looking as iron as Shenning like a mountain. He didn't move, but the amazing momentum soared. The momentum reached its peak. Suddenly, Wang Jun shouted, "Oh!" The golden sword waved sharply. Very simple moves? At the beginning of the infant's day, no one will win by simple moves? They are all simple moves? They are fighting for strength. Diamong is like a silk thread with radian, and the golden cane is as if the space was cut apart, and thousands of golden lights were released. Wang Jun's swordsmanship is more powerful than Jinken's swordsmanship. Not only can he turn gas into silk, but he can turn countless swords into one sword. Okay, everyone here applauded immediately. The power of the superb magic weapon and the strength of Wang Junyuan after the baby was a shocking move. Sure enough, the ghost emperor was severely wounded, and saw that its huge arm was split from the to the elbow, to the root of the arm. The whole arm was split with a bamboo, clicked, and split into several petals. Everyone was overjoyed, and it seemed that this ghost emperor was not unbreakable. But the fact gave everyone a heavy blow. This stunning knife still did not bring a fatal blow to the ghost emperor. It drew back his arm, and flung it back and forth, his arms closed again. This blow did not cause much damage to the Ghost Emperor, but caused great trouble to countless disciples below. At first, no one noticed the gray gas flowing out of his arm. Who knew that this thing quietly diffused into the air and slowly settled down? This was a problem. Huang Hao saw that Wang Jun was unsuccessful. He was very happy and could not care about the spirit stone. He shouted at his disciples, "Change to the spirit stone. Give the dreadful ghost a powerful one." Some of the disciples of the refining dungeon began to equip the energy guns, but the disciples beside more than a dozen energy guns remained indifferent. Huang Hao's order was poorly executed. Of course, he was annoyed and scolded, "Are these guys deaf? Hurry up to the top grade." Just when he was angry, he saw that more than a dozen guns suddenly turned their heads and aimed at the people above the Zhunyuan peak. Zhou Yuanying was suddenly frightened. Looking at those disciples, all eyes were red. Obviously, they had been controlled by evil spirits. Zhou Yuanying immediately thought of the gray gas that had just dissipated. Everyone opens the spiritual shield. Do not touch the gas flowing from the Ghost Emperor. Almost all Yuanying roared at the same time, but Yekong had to pay more attention, and saw that a large area of similar gas had flowed in along the large gap. Quickly close the big team. Mixed Yuan Zone disciples, close all eyes. Yekong can't help it. So many evil charms flow into the array. How many people are unlucky? Who knows if the spirit shield can prevent it? But this order, the large array of mouth immediately chaos. Zun Yuan Zone wants to close the formation, but Kelly Zone is anxious. Jungan has started. Can't stop. Once the big battle is over, all the power will hit the inner wall of the big battle. We are not responsible for destroying the big battle. The most chaotic are the more than 10 cannons that have been out of control and the dozens of disciples of the refiner. They were controlled by the evil spirits, and the disciples of each faction immediately surrounded them, but it was not convenient to shoot. But you can't do it. If you do nt kill him, he will kill you. More importantly, a sharp weapon like this is in their hands. If you don't grab it, you won't know how many of your colleagues will be killed. Huang Hao, Wang Jun yelled at Huang Hao. Don't stop. Don't kill everyone. Huang Hao looked at Lian Fanchen, probably expecting him to treat him, but Lian Fanchen shook his head. I don't know what kind of gas it is, what kind of elixir to use. Until I figure it out, I'm afraid this hill will be flat. Huang Hao didn't care about his disciples. It was not a big deal for Yuanying's ancestors to kill some real people who built the base. There were many disciples of Feng's surname inside. He was afraid that the parents would always ask him to go back. But even so, Huang Hao couldn't help it, gritted his teeth and said, "Kill." As soon as this remark came out, Wang Jun moved down instantly, raised his hand and slashed a knife, and split an apprentice disciple into 2 halves. Your mother? Wang old ghost, are you very happy to kill my disciple Zhangzi? Huang Hao was furious. Wang Jun laughed. I'll let you kill the next time I am a disciple in Sword Dock. Wang Jun is very unreasonable. His murder is fake, robbing things is true, and then he raises his hand and puts the energy-saving gun away. Those ancestors of all factions have a good person. They all look at this stuff. They were all embarrassed at first, seeing Wang Jun's shot, all shots. Huang Hao was furious. Your ancestors. You don't care about your enemies. You are busy killing yourself. I fight with you. Seeing the chaos in the large array, the outside fell into laughter and laughed. Is this 10,000 zombie soul-eating array so good to break? The mind is unclear, and the soul is eaten away. Haha, the ancients did not deceive me. The fierce battles in ancient times were really powerful. The higher the cultivation, the stronger the desire and the faster the attack. In the big battle, Yekong frowned. I didn't expect to fight with outsiders, but I started to fight first. What the is this? However, there was a voice in his heart saying that you should grab a cannon while you are in trouble, do not grab white or grab, I don't believe you can't grab it. Yahalo thought, yeah, I'm going to grab a door too. There are more than a dozen gates controlled by the evil spirits there. The ancestors of Yuanying went to grab them. I might as well grab the cannons in the hands of other normal practitioners. Yakong didn't know what happened to him. He stepped on the Kaiun boots and flew over the nearest accumulator. Looking at the busy disciple, Yakong Kong had another idea. If these disciples turned back to confess to Huang Hao's ancestors, I was afraid they would spit out the cannons at that time. Unlike other Yuanyings, he can fight with Huang Hao hard, so he must kill. Correct. Grab a gun. Kill. Yakong raised his hand and took out the Dementor bell, shaking it gently. All three base-building gunners were confused. Turn the sword into silk. The three swords on the small sword magic weapon directly took the three disciples. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 565. The situation is critical. Oh! Suddenly above Yakong's head, a buzzing bee like a swarm swarmed, and hundreds of cyan spikes shot down. The leading sharp cone was blown away by the sword gas, but the bee cone won in a large number, going forward and succeeding, and finally it was worthy of 3 clear sword silks. Why is this bee cone so familiar? Yakong was confused and couldn't even think about it, and then fiercely retreated, looking up. I saw a white woman standing in front of her. The wind was soft, and her hair was shaking. An angry apricot was staring at Yakong, as if asking, didn't you swear that you would never kill anyone? If Rulan. Yakong's mind was clear. What's wrong with me? Just now I still despise those ancestors of the babies, why do they do such things themselves? These disciples are desperately fighting the enemy Ghost Emperor. How can they kill themselves behind? Do not. Although the accumulator is good, I am not the same person. Never. With this in mind, Yakong's intellect was completely sober. Looking up, Lian Rulan has left. Looking down, the 3 apprehensive apprentice disciples are looking at themselves. I just check your ability to respond to emergencies, you continue. Yakong lied and quickly turned around and left. The 3 monks were inexplicably frightened behind their backs. The new master of the mixed UN zone was really special. This kind of inspection was really scary. Yakong, who flew up, had already guessed that this was affected by the 10,000 zombie soul arrays outside. Seeing the battle there was getting more and more fierce, and as monks joined the battle circle, he quickly flew over. Senior Wang, don't fight, you're fascinated by evil charms. Master Monk, it's time for alchemy. Elder Tong Yaitong, I want to be with you. However, he was ignored. Although the ancestors of the Yuanying infants were the people who stood on the top of the pyramid on this continent, they had very low immunity to this ancient fierce array. Call. Don't fight, Yakong yelled frantically. Sure enough, Zhong Yuanying stopped. But before he was happy, everyone continued to fight. Looking back, the ancestors of Jidan of each faction also began to kill, and the real people of Zuji and Xiaoqiulianqi were scared to dodge and scrambled. In the large array, countless gaps have been bombarded by concentrated energy, and countless gray-white gases have flowed into it. Outside of the battlefield, he laughed, and the unicorn ghost emperor was tearing the gap of the battlefield, and he could enter at any time. A sense of weakness suddenly surged up, and in the face of this situation, he was no longer in control. Dozens of ancestors of Yuanying were fighting fiercely. He could not get involved, and they did not do well. They did not die. How to do? Chill. We can't manage other people's affairs, we manage our own. Li Haoshan, Yakong roared, and then roared again, Li Wei. Bao Hua. Chen Handsome. Wei Xianrong. You all come back to me. What makes Yekong most depressing is that other people's fights are all other denominations, or in order to the guns. The 5 big babies of their own, however, were fighting fiercely on their own. Li Haoshan, Li Weibeohua and the 3 besieged Chen Shui and Wei Xianrong. They were really full. Come back soon, Yekong yelled again, still ignored. Yekong had to take out the 5 essence blood jade invitations. This is his trick. I count 3 times, and if I do NT come back, I will kill you one by one. Although they are unconscious, they are not completely controlled by the evil spirits, but are affected by the soul-eating array. They are more obsessed with desire and inner heart, so when they see Yekong offering 5 jade cards, they quickly started. When Li Haoshan came back, he said, Sect Master, Yaju and others just suspected that we were the corpses of the dead yin. Do you know why Wei Xianrong is so excited? Because he is the corpse spy. We have wanted to say it, but because of the other ancestors, I have no idea to say it. Li Wei and Beohua ancestors rushed to say. You fart, Wei Xianrong flushed. Li Haoshan also said, don't blind the new monarch. Li Haoshan pointed to Wei Xianrong and said, this person has a good relationship with Lei Miao. 150 years ago, they also joined the mixed Yuan clan almost the same time. Very close, Wei Xianrong even helped with Lei Miao when he was a baby. He was a spy. Li Haoshan was telling the truth. Wei Xianrong almost bleeds a face, but he has no answer. But Chen Handsome rushed over and said, Brother Wei has a strong temper, and whoever is close to him will be close to him. Although he has a good relationship with Lei Miao, but you talk about something that he was sorry for the Yuan dynasty. Well, Chen Handsome, you don't know the situation, you get away. Seeing that the 5 were fighting again, Yekong yelled quickly, whether Wei Xianrong is spy or not, you stop first. Shut up. Your sages have been affected by the soul-stealing array outside. Now I command you, everyone eats a phantom fruit before talking. But hurry up, Yekong took the thread from Yu Chan. The 5 great infants had to take out the phantom fruit and eat them a few hectares. The 5 great infants all sobered up. It seems that the effect of the phantom fruit is very good. Yekong was a little grateful for his wise decision to send everyone a phantom fruit early. Just, how do you make it for everyone? If those monks who practice gas and foundation can catch them and force them to take them, what about the ancestors of the infants? Who has the ability to catch them and force them to eat fruit? This is really a headache. Li Haoshan and others also had a headache at the moment. Originally, Wei Xianrong was just a suspicion in their hearts, or the muttering behind them, and they never said it in person, but when they were unconscious, they broke this layer of window paper. This is awkward. You suspect Wei Xianrong, but you have no real evidence, and fight him for this. How will everyone meet and get along? Brother Wei, we are all for the good of Yuan zone. After all, you and Lei Miao are too close. It's convenient for everyone to talk. Although we doubted you, we did not find that you were sorry for Yuan zone. I hope you really have nothing to do with the dead Yin sect, otherwise I will take your life with Li Haoshan. Li Haoshan made it clear. Wei Xianrong didn't get excited this time, but said lightly, those who are clear by themselves. Yekong did not believe that Wei Xianrong was a spy, and this man had a hot temper and a straight heart, which was really not a spy. He quickly interrupted them, don't make any more trouble for this matter, I believe Elder Wei, and his essence and jade is here, he will not be spy. Yekong went on to say, the problem now is that the minds of all the people in the battle are not normal. How can we stop them from fighting and take on the phantom fruit? Now the situation is very critical. The Ghost Emperor in the early days of deification can come in soon, maybe everyone will die here this time. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 566. Awakening with Fate. The 5 great UN infants also noticed the situation, but they couldn't find a way out. After all, their highest talents were in the middle UN infant period, and there were 10 major monks in the late UN infant period. If we don't fight for the break, let them fight if they want to fight. We will break with awake people, Li Haoshan suggested. This is a way. It's really impossible to just leave them, but the key is that the 10,000 zombie soul array is not so easy to break through, and even if it breaks through, there are 6 ancestors of the dead Yin sect outside, among them falling both Zhou Wei and Zhou Wei are late UN infants. Ye Kong frowned. Then evacuate to the underground warehouse. There is actually a shelter there. Even if you fight hard outside, there will be nothing underneath. There is an ancient defense array set by the ancestors of the older generation. You can use the forbidden spirit space to wipe them out. Chen Shuiwei suggested. It's okay, but both plans must give up all the monks here. If the Corpsean sect really slaughters the UN infants of all factions, we will survive, and we will always be ridden by the Corpsean sect. Ye Kong always makes up his mind. At this moment, Wei Xianrong, who had not expressed his opinion, began to speak. I have a way to keep everyone awake for a short time. Everyone was a little surprised. Among the 5 babies, Wei Xianrong was not high, and what could he do? But Wei Xianrong didn't say much, let them wait, and then he flew out of the gap and faced the tall unicorn ghost emperor. Seeing Wei Xianrong flying out, the sky shouted over there, Wei Xianrong, at that time you received Lei Miao's great gratitude. If he hadn't helped you find the fruit, would you be a Yuan Ying monk now? Hurry up and trust in our dead body sect. I guarantee that the status of your elder infant will remain unchanged, and there will be more hope in the future. Wei Xianrong replied coldly, yes, I have received Lei Miao's gratitude. If he didn't help to find the fruit of the baby, I would never have a baby, but Wei Xianrong is a disciple of the Yuan dynasty. How can it be betray the sects, and fight against the enemy? Rest assured, it is not just a Yuan Ying, Wei Xianrong can afford it. After he said it, he turned back to Li Haoshan and others, and said aloud, you haven't spoken in person these days, but I can feel that you have been doubting me. I can pick it out today. I want to prove it to you. Zongs Hickson, the sea is not dry, the stones are not rotten, and death will not change. Li Haoshan and others didn't know why. They looked at each other and did not know what Wei Xianrong was going to do, but they had a bad feeling. After Wei Xianrong said to Yekondeo, Suzerain, you are a good suzerain, I can see that old Wei, I believe that suzerain can be as brilliant as the ancestors of this ancestor, with mixed UN ancestors towards glory, shocking the space with great force can still wake up the monks for a short time, then use my Wei Xianrong's blood to wake them up. Ye Kong shouted, Elder Wei, don't be confused. But Wei Xianrong is a person of upright personality, rather than bent, he doubts him, he can't argue with all his words, he already has a desire to die. Baby burst. The explosive body technique of the UN infant period is shocking, even if it really comes to the early stage of deification, it will not dare to welcome it. There is this kind of life-threatening fallen sky screamed, and quickly let the ghost emperor dodge. But the whole body was inflated with light, and Wei Xianrong, who was about to burst at any time, was like a bone-wrapped one, and he kept up. I'm not a spy. Boom, the power of the baby burst was so real that a monk Yuan cultivated for hundreds of years and was released in the least reckless manner. Everyone present seemed to see a sun burst. There was a white light in front of me, and nothing was seen, as if blind. The bang in my ears went away, and I could hear nothing. It felt like it was the end of the world. Finally, the white light disappeared, and the noise regained in his ears. Looking again, Wei Xianrong had exploded so that there was no piece of meat left, and the ghost emperor had been completely blown away, becoming hundreds of thousands of grudges. Ka, a movement of Ye Kong's hand, Wei Xianrong's jade card split in half. Li Haoshan and others were shocked. They did not expect Wei Xianrong to be so strong. In order to prove his innocence, he blew up Yuan Ying. Ye Kong also regretted it. If I had known that this person was so fierce, I should have comforted him a few moments ago. Sovereign, everyone has stopped, don't let Elder Wei kill his life, Chen handsome ancestor reminded. Ye Kong immediately awakened, stepped on the colorful cloud boots, and raised his feet again, and said loudly, external hazards, civil strife first. Everyone, you have been affected by the minds of the tense zombie array, if you trust, you take quickly a phantom fruit sent by the section Elder Wei Xianrong awakens you with your life. Please cherish the opportunity and hurry up. Those ancestors who had cultivated their profound ancestors did not believe that they would be recruited at first, but think about why their desires were so strong just now. If before, even if you are greedy again, you will not fight with yourself at this time. What's more, Wei Xianrong's death was really explosive. This is not a fake. He will not do so until he lives or die. Zhou Yuanying didn't dare to entrust it, and quickly took out the phantom fruit, and one person served one. As soon as they were served, those ancestors who built Dan and real people built the foundation, and the minor repairs of Qi were also served. After a while, everyone was completely awake, and then they felt how ridiculous they were, but they also understood the desire in the other's heart. Huang Hao cursed, Wang, old dog, your sword and sword doc has not always looked down on the refiner sect. Why do you want to grab me to gather energy to go back to study? Research on the fart. The old man just saw that the gun was very bright. He walked at night and was good for lighting. The old boy Wang Jun also dared to say that he took the energy cannon as a flashlight, but he also shouted, Huang Logui, don't talk about others. You didn't want to kill me just now, and you took back the artifact to study? The old ancestor Yaitong was throwing winks at someone. Little ghost, who said just now that he wants to come with the slave family. Dare to love you, this little ghost is better than those old ghosts, or you have left Yuan zone, join me in Acacia, be my ancestor and pass on my disciples, so my sister can let you XX. Ye Kong fainted and shook his head. Yaitong ancestors, your Acacia sects are mainly related to flowers. Presumably you like more than one queen. But what you like is more than one queen. Although they are all P, but everyone's emphasis is different. Younger people still don't want to join you. What a mess, I can't understand, Yi Tong's ancestor snorted. Outside of the battlefield, the sky snorted coldly, stupid, can self-destruction destroy the tense grievances? The phantom fruit has fart again, less than a cup of tea, you will still be affected by a large array of consciousness. See how many of you a Yuanying is willing to explode, how many phantom fruits can eat. To the reader. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 567. 5 or 6 7. The scarlet flag waved in the hands of the fallen ancestors, and those wraiths scattered in the array screamed and shouted to gather in one direction. At the same time, the gray and white spirits were permeated in the large array, and the situation looked bad. Direction of development. Unexpectedly, the ghost emperor formed by the resentment turned out to be immortal. How can I stop them from converging? Lian Fanchen frowned. Huang Hao whispered as he collected his cannon, I still put away my cannon, and stop fighting for it. Ye Kong also frowned and sighed, I can't think that the array of ancient times is so powerful, the 30 Yuanying monks on our side are all waiting to die. Cao Guang laughed, shoot, don't look down on us, do you think they are all waiting to die? Ye Kong suddenly realized that these guys had no means to bring them out. Obviously, these old guys who have lived so long are not good. They waited for the other martial arts to damage their manpower, so that in the Kangbei gold rush behind them, they could profit more than other denominations. Yekong smiled bitterly. These old guys were still awkward at this time, and they were busy calculating other people. Said by Cao Guanji, the other monks blushed immediately, and the old brother of Hehuan Yaitong said with a smile, "Brother Cao Guang, since you first pick out, don't hide anymore, but Cao Guang, do you take the lead?" "What about?" Since Cao Guang said this, he didn't want to hide again, and laughed. Then, "Please friends, please see the means of seeing Yun Fuzong." After speaking, he was teleporting, standing high above the square where the banquet was just held, and shouting, "Listen to the disciples below, all leave the square, and not leave, the consequences are at your own risk." Most of the disciples below are from Yuan zone, and they dare not neglect to leave. Cao Guang raised his hand to the storage ring, and saw a golden bell flying out. After the bell flew out, it hit the ground, and the clock body zoomed in quickly. When it slammed to the ground, the golden bell was already 2 stories high. This is the ancient treasure sent by Yunfuzong town, and the road is innocent. As far as the bell is concerned, mortals worship the Tao, and immortals worship, and all the evil spirits are charmed and cleared away. Yekong was stunned, but Cao Guang didn't expect to bring this stuff out, but this old guy has also been useless, and it seems that he started to have the thought of depleting the strength of other martial arts. Oh, the bells lingered, the road was clean. Oh, the bell sounded, everyone's heart was shocked. Oh, it sounded again, and those grieving ghosts heard the horn of urgency, and instead of concentrating together, they fled towards the 4 sides and scattered. This 10,000 zombie soul array also has a transparent enchantment, like a big bowl inverted upside down from the Yuan sect, and those panicked grieving spirits are screaming, slamming into the enchantment frantically. As soon as Cao Guang's method came out, Lian Fanchen, who had a high reputation for self-esteem, was embarrassed to hide again, and laughed, "Bao Cao has a good method, and I don't dare to hide it again." Dan Bing. Out, Lian Fanchen flung his sleeves and rolled out numerous Dan pills. The Dan pills, as small as soybeans, scattered all over the sky, and once they landed, they became soldiers with a height of 1 meter. Thousands of villains shook their swords without shouting the order of Fanchen, and shouted, "Kill, go straight to those panicking resentment spirits." The ancestors of Yuanying here used the ultimate method of this sect. The situation immediately reversed, and the sky roared, thousands of zombies eat the soul, and the resentment is reborn. The hundreds of thousands of zombies all raised their heads and yelled at Yu, and then a dry mouth opened, and a resentment protruded. Under the command of the fallen Scarlet Banner, he entered the soul-eating formation. Yekong frowned and asked, "How many grievances does a zombie have?" Li Haoshan also wondered, "In principle, there is only one soul, and one zombie has only one soul, that is, a resentment spirit. How can there be any more? It is really suspicious. I don't know how the sky fell out." Yekong said again, "If this is endless, when is it going to kill? Only rush out of the battlefield, stop falling to continue to cast, or kill the hundreds of thousands of zombies." Lingyushan Royal Beast said, roaring, "Please friends, please comment on my little spirit beast mountain small means. Golden winged flying ape. Fit." As soon as the ancestor of the beast patted the beast of the spirit, a golden light rose into the sky, and the body of the beast quickly flew up, colliding with Jingguang in the air. Then the body of the royal beast swelled and opened, and his clothes were cracked. A human head with a pair of giant monsters with gold wings appeared in the air. Huang Hao sighed, "I didn't expect this old monster to actually become a human-beast combination." After hearing that the combination, the repair will increase the power of at least 3 layers. He is now the 9th floor of Yuanying. If the 3rd floor is added, that is the power of the 2nd floor of the deification period. The ancestor of Hehuan Zone Yaitong opened his mouth in surprise. Wang Jun shook his head and said, "It just increases the power, and it is far from the true deification period." I heard that the deification period will have its own unique deification vision. That is the most important feature of the deification. Monk Yekong didn't know what the vision was, only he nodded. In fact, everyone in the audience had never seen the vision, and they all listened to the legend. The ancestor of the beast with the strength of the gods spit out a fierce fire, burned countless grieving spirits that rushed into the large array, and then a teleportation came to the inner wall of the large array and banged a punch against it. Boom, Wanzhou's soul trembled, but nothing changed. The ancestor of Qi Xing Zong Tan Qinghuai here has some research on the position of the playing method, shouting, changing the position, left 7 right 16. The royal beast obeyed, and immediately changed positions, and punched again. Boom. Ah, a corpse Yin Zone disciple screamed and flew out suddenly, throwing the banner in his hand far away. Top 8 right 19. Tan Qinghuai said a position, Yaju is a punch, and at the same time, a dead Yinzong disciple died. If this continues, the breakout is not far off. But is the fierce array of ancient times so broken? The sky shouted, flag disciple, listen to me. Change. The flag-bearing disciples waved the flag in their hands, and the inner wall of the large transparent array suddenly changed, and transformed into countless fierce beasts. The royal beast punched up again, and the fierce beast on the wall even spewed back a flame, and immediately burned the ape hair on the royal beast, scaring the royal beast not to fight again. The ancestor of Qixing Zong Tan Qinghuai was unable to provide a position because he could not see the array outside. At the moment when the ancestors of each faction were playing by their means and in full swing, Li Haoshan didn't know where to go, and then a note flew to Yekong. Quickly come to Yuan Hall, urgent. Yekong did not dare to neglect, and flew down quickly. He left at a critical moment, and the ancestors of all factions also had doubts, but watched him fly to the temple of mixed Yuan, and the ancestors were not good to chase them. They were already scared by the forbidden space in that temple. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 568. 5 or 6 Secret Passage. Entering the hall of mixed Yuan, Li Haoshan rushed to meet him and reported that, Zongju, I just caught a spy. I searched his soul and found a big secret. Yekong was startled, what a big secret? Master, follow me. Li Haoshan led Yekong to the ancestral temple, opened a large chair, opened the carpet on the ground, and a teleportation array appeared on the ground. Li Haoshan said, Master, the spy is under Lei Miao. When he searched for the spy last time, he hid. This time he wanted to escape and was discovered by us. According to my soul search data, I used to it is from here that Miao returns to the dead corpse, and he will put the carpet and chair back after Lei Miao leaves? Yekong was startled. So, this teleportation leads directly to the dead corpse. Very likely, Li Haoshan nodded. Yekong was overjoyed, it's a real death for me. We might as well inform the various factions, kill it from here, kill the insect's nest, and see what other way the old guy fell into the sky. Li Haoshan hurriedly shook his hand. No, Lord. The old guys of all factions are terribly sly. If they had shot early, Master Wei Xianrong would not have killed him. In this war, everyone's purpose is to go to Kangbei for treasure hunting. Whoever passes first can get the best and greatest treasures. Why do we leave this opportunity to those old things? They are not kind and we are unjust. I look at one of our past. Yekong thought about it, too. Those old guys were superficial, but none of them were easy to get along with. If they knew, they might not be able to come up with anything. The so-called injurious heart must not exist, and the inhuman heart must be indispensable. Although Yekong didn't want to covet all the treasures, he didn't want to be harmed by it. But if we all leave Yuan Zone, we are afraid that the factions will soon find out. Yekong thought about it, it's better, a few of us will go up and make a decision if we find something, if hurry back when nothing is found. In the future, it will be discovered by other sections. We can also say that it is to understand the crisis of rescuing everyone trapped, and the ancestral hall is heavy and inaccessible to outsiders. Sect, what you think is so seamless? Li Haoshan laughed. Yekong shook his head and smiled bitterly. I also learned from those old things. Well, these people are so cunning, they don't forget to count at the moment of life and death. I hope they don't count to one day, to their heads. Within a moment, Li Wei, Beohua, and Chen Shui were notified to come here. Everyone found that there was a teleportation line leading directly to the dead body sect, and they were all very surprised. Because Yekong's repair was shallow, and he was left in case the ancestors of other factions were skeptical, he finally decided to let the 4 Yuan infants in the Yuan sect look for clues in the past. The perimeter of Yuan zone. The corpse Yinzong was all dispatched, and the mixed Yuan zone came. The defense there was empty, and Li Haoshan was killed by crying father and called his mother for the time being. Yekong saw them passing by and did not wait long at the ancestral temple, so he hurried out. It was found that the ancestors of Hehuan Zone Yaitong and several other idol ancestors were standing outside the temple of Yunyuan. It seems that they are still not assured of Yekong. They are afraid that people such as Yuan Zone will escape and leave them to the enemy. Then I lost money. There is a bunker underground in this case. It was built by an ancient monk when Kang Bei first arrived. It is very safe. In order to prevent accidents, I have asked Li Haoshan to prepare them. By then, we will all retreat and defend. Yekong said casually. It turned out to be this way. I'm afraid that you would slip away before Yuan Zone. Oh, sister, I can't deal with this soul-eating battle. Yitong's ancestor covered his mouth and laughed. When I am Yekong like you. Yekong snorted softly, angrily, you don't believe me? Then my sister will follow me and take a look. Yuanyings of all factions have been scared by the forbidden spirit space, and they did not dare to enter it again only as a last resort. The monk played with spiritual power. If there is no spiritual power, it is no different from mortals, and the storage bags cannot be opened. Who dares to take risks? How about it? Old Bolan said with a smile, Master Li, you don't have to be attentive. You Taoist friends just talk about it. You are busy and keep busy. If you can't resist it, I have to wait to avoid it. In fact, Zhonyuanying is more comfortable with Yekong. After all, this is the site of the mixed Yuan zone. There are thousands of mixed Yuan zone disciples outside. Yekong will not leave their disciples. With what they said, Yekong also reassuredly walked back to the front of the teleportation team and waited for the news. After waiting for a short time, Yekong was a little bit reassured. Anyway, I was idle, so I might as well go to see it myself, just come back early. Yekong stepped into the teleportation array. This thing was fast. He crossed the vast sea in an instant and came to the dead corpse. Yekong originally thought that the corpse yin sect should be a corpse everywhere, a messy environment. Who knows, this is not the case. The teleportation array was built in a dark room of a room. Now the door of the dark room has been opened. 2 corpses lie on the ground in the outer room. Yekong walked out of the room and was surprised to find that the corpse Yinzong had a good environment. Very classic architecture, pavilion, promenade, bridge, and a small pond in the courtyard. There are many red fishes in it, and the aura is also very strong. It is indeed a good place for cultivation. At this moment, it was midnight. The sky was supposed to be dark, but the sky not far away was a golden one, as if a golden mirror reached the sky from the ground, very wide, and could not see the margins at a glance. Must this be the ancient monk to prevent the invasion of the demons from outside the region, to set up a barrier to block Kangnan Kangbei? Yekong walked towards the golden mirror. Along the way, there were 2 corpses on the ground, and 1 or 2 bombardments came from time to time. I think that the corpse yin sect has gone out, leaving behind some small fish and shrimp. For monks like Li Haoshan, it is not worth mentioning at all, so no fierce fighting will occur. Yekong slowly walked towards the golden barrier, and the closer he got, the more shocked Yekong was. The supernatural powers of this ancient monk were able to erect this barrier that cut off the continent, an absolute barrier. Not only the entire sky was cut off, even the underground could not pass. This barrier is glittering with gold, and under the glow of the moonlight, flashing waves of light. Looking at it from a distance, I can't see the end at all. I don't know how many miles this barrier is. Looking up, I can see that the barrier is standing tall, and I can't see how high it is. Walking closer, Yekong was surprised to find that under the moonlight, the flowing waves were not light, but billions of thin runes. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 569. Sneak Attack. It's Wang Tingshi. Yekong's heart was startled, but he didn't expect to peek for a long time and turned out to be an acquaintance. He and Wang Tingshi called each other friends, but peeked at her to take a bath, a little bit friendless. But what surprised Yekong more was that this woman even called Lei Miao as his uncle. She turned out to be Lei Miao's niece, so was her father a god. Yekong was surprised by this discovery. He originally thought that Wang Tingshi was only a core disciple of the dead Yin sect, but he did not expect that he was the daughter of the fallen ancestor. If so, he and Wang Tingshi would never be friends. He killed her uncle, and was his father's most hated person. The mixed Yuanzong and the dead Yinzong were completely hostile. Yekong sighed, and heard Wang Tingshi hate and said, "This wicked guy, even if you say it, don't say it in front of everyone, it really killed me." There was another guilt in Yekong. He knew that Wang Tingshi had told him the news, and he had already made a great deal of determination. In fact, he did not want to reveal the secret until the critical moment. However, the situation was indeed pressing at that time. If he did not say that the 17 sects present would all be killed in the hands of Wuxi Xianjun, how could he let this happen? He didn't regret it. He wanted to expose the truth of Lei Miao at that moment in terms of love, reason, and public. But regret does not mean that he is not guilty. Although he feels at ease in this matter, it hurts Wang Tingshi. In order to save him, they ventured to meet him, and said such a secret. But she said in public that not only made Wang Tingshi blame herself, but also provoked her father to punish her. With this in mind, Yekong could not help exhaling, shook his head slightly and sighed. Which of the cultivators is not Kongmumming? Wang Ting, who was washing her long hair, suddenly felt it, shook her wet long hair away, and asked loudly, "Who is there? Come out." Yekong's face was bitter, and he was really moldy. "I was ashamed at first, but now I have been caught peeking at her to take a bath." "Come out." Wang Tingshi raised his hand again, and immediately a few ghosts rose from under Yekong's feet, forcing Yekong to come out. The cool breeze is fortunate. Kaiyu is boundless. Thanks to my seductive mood, I feel like I live a long life. Although I am not a Yeshu, I am chic, but I have a broad mind and a strong arm. Someone came out with his head raised, humming inexplicably in a minor key, but made Wang Tingshi in the mist. "Li Hizi." Wang Ting shuddered for a moment. "Yeah, this isn't Wang Daiyu. It's fortunate that I didn't expect to come out in the middle of the night to admire the month and meet acquaintances." Yekong laughed hard. Wang Tingshi shook her lips. "This blackbird is completely nonsense. Can the moon watching actually go from the mixed Yuanzong to the corpse Yinzong? What's more, on this side is the golden barrier, and on the other side is the woods. The moon cannot be seen at all. This kid doesn't know how long he has been here, or what he saw." Seeing that the woman on the opposite side was getting worse and worse, Yekong managed to lose money and quickly said, "Wang Daiyu, it's not too late now, you and I are lonely men and widows and I can't help but be pointed back. Go back first." Yekong wanted to walk away, but listening to Wang Ting's cold face, "Wait. Wang Daiyu still have something?" Yekong Bei asked Wang Tingshi. Huh, now I know I am serious, and I know I am a lone man and a woman. Why didn't I think when I peeked? Wang Ting Shivan wanted to wear clothes, but looking at someone's back, new hatreds rushed into her heart, grabbed the weapon on the bluestone slab, raised quickly, and smashed into the back of Yekong. Asshole, I killed you. Your ancestor, come true, just watched half of the fart, no need to kill? Yekong didn't dare to neglect, and twirled and jumped in Yingwu's posture, turning his back to clasp Wang Tingshi's wrist with one hand, and locking her neck with the other. Boom, Wang Tingshi was pushed back upside down, and finally fell on the bluestone slab, while Yekong pressed her like a hungry tiger, her eyes full of fierce expression. No matter who it is, he wants to sneak in behind him, and is facing the back of his head. He wasn't polite, so he took some effort. Wang Tingshi was stuck in her neck, and she struggled hard, trying to tear open someone's iron claw, but in the end it was futile. At last Wang Tingshi gave up, her eyes were red, and her eyes were full of tears. Yekong could not help but let go and said, "You shouldn't attack me." Wang Tingshi sobbed. Yekong looked down again and found that the weapon she was holding turned out to be one of her embroidered shoes. Wang Tingshi was angry and wanted to take embroidered shoes to pat him 2 times to relieve his anger, but he didn't expect that the uncle actually played with himself, and he held her neck tightly. When she was wronged, she couldn't help crying. Yekong couldn't help crying or laughing. I knew it was embroidered shoes, so I asked her to take 2 photos. But she and her are in a hostile camp, and she kills herself again and again, how can she be careful? Yekong let go of his hand and found a red circle on her clear neck. I'm sorry. Yekong let go of his hand. I'll kill you, asshole. Wang Tingshi suddenly got up, rolled over and pressed someone back on the slate, holding her embroidered shoes and pumping at someone for a while. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 570. Found under the Lake Mayday. Ever since the news of Lei Miao was leaked, the fallen sky suspected the wind of his daughter, so he reprimanded Wang Ting, and this time the sneak attack on the mixed UN zone also kept her secret, only to say that there was something wrong. Wang Tingshi became angry and shuddered. Yekong was also unprepared, and was kicked into the small lake by this kick. Watching someone embarrassedly fell into the lake, Wang Tingshi giggled, a bright smile blooming. But then, her face changed, not good. In fact, this lake was often played by Wang Tingshi as a child, but from a certain day, she was banned from coming in to take a bath. But despite the ban, she still had a way to get in. Others who came in must have black corpse tokens, but she didn't want to. She was born with a dark spirit root and had a very affinity for things like corpse chi. The black jinpsa was made from 10,000 years of corpse chi. At first she didn't know why Dad would forbid her to come in to bathe in the water, but one time secretly came in and found that the water had been drained. When a huge project was underneath, she probably understood something, and never did sneak in. However, she was really tangled in the past few days, so she slipped in and took a bath to play with the water while her father was away. Of course, she also went to the engineering site below to see. Unfortunately, the vast project below was isolated by several layers of formations and she could not enter. Although the daddy never told her, but rumors were flying all over the sky, of course she knew what it was for. This is the biggest secret of the Dead Yin section. Although she really wanted to make a friend with Yekong, it did not mean that she was willing to be a traitor. Last time her uncle died because of this, she regretted death. Now if this kid discovers the secret of the dead corpse. No. Never let him find out. Indeed, Yekong fell into the water and immediately felt the difference. The underwater pressure is very strong. Yekong was in the sea. Even if he dived to the bottom of the sea, he couldn't keep up with the pressure, as if there was a force to hold him up. Weird. As soon as Yekong thought, he gathered his eyes and looked down. The black gas gathered on the bottom of the water, but did not spread, as if a layer of ink was deposited. He did not dare to carelessly, quickly opened the shield of the spiritual power, sank, took out a flying sword and inserted it into the black gas. Unlike the corpse gas corrosion just now, there seems to be a layer of steel plate under the black gas. A bang. Yekong found that the layer of black gas was not lethal, and he was bolder. He called Shuiju and rushed away the layer of black gas. A bright silver metal layer appeared in front of him. Small iron plate also wants to stop me, Yekong snorted coldly, and it was a blow to change into Jingguanjiao. Bang, with a loud noise, the powerful force of crescent slash chopped the water and chopped on the metal layer. Although it was not split, Yekong clearly felt that the metal layer was trembling for a while, and the aura was chaotic, but it returned to normal in an instant. It turned out not to be a metal layer, but a peculiar formation. Li Daiyu, brother Hizi, no, Wang Tingshi followed, feeling the shock under the water, and her heart was more anxious. Why not? What's below? Yekong Chuanyan replied. Of course, Wang Tingshi would not tell him the truth, but just said, Brother Hizi, my father is a fallen ancestor, and he will be back right away. If he finds you here, I'm afraid you won't be able to get away. I think you are still leave early. Yekong laughed, Wang Daiyu, maybe you don't know yet. The fallen ancestors and the monks who belong to your dead Yin sect are besieging the UN section they are fighting at this moment, and it is impossible to return for the time being. Ah, Wang Tingshi heard the news for the first time, thinking of her father concealing her whereabouts, and thinking of Lei Miao's death because of her own feelings. Brother Hizi, even if my father will not be back for the time being, but as soon as you attack this formation, the alarm bell outside will work, and there will be countless corpse Yinzong disciples coming soon. I think you will leave early. Yekong shook his head and said, besides the golden million-meter barrier, there are ancient defense arrays that prevent people from approaching the barrier, but here, there is only a layer of 10,000-year-old corpse blocking. After entering, you can get infinite access. The barrier between Kangnan and Kangbei, in other words, this is the closest place to Kangbei. What's underneath, do you have to guess? Wang Tingshi's face changed, and he patted a storage bag, took out a flying sword and blocked it in front of Yekong, and said, Brother Sunzi, I won't let you pass anyway. Although you once let my life go, beneficial to me, but I am also a corpse Yin Zone disciple, I have made mistakes again and again, I can't make mistakes and add mistakes. Yekong still shook his head. You are not my opponent and you can't stop me. If you really want to fulfill your role as a corpse Yin Zone disciple, send a message to the fallen ancestor and let him come back to stop me. But Wang Tingshi still couldn't stop, Brother Sunzi, I really can't let it. If you insist on going, then kill me. Yekong has always felt that although this woman is a disciple of the dead Yin sect, she is not a bad person, especially since the two had a little ambiguity just now, it was really difficult to shoot. Wang Daiyu, are you forcing me to take a shot? Yekong snorted and also took out the instrument, but while Wang Tingshi didn't pay attention, a pale yellow thing in the storage bag rolled into the black gas at the bottom of the water in. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 571. Pros and Cons. Wang Tingshi knew that he was not Yekong's opponent. He was easily defeated by Yekong in Wanjiachan last time, and his injury happened just a short time ago, not to mention that his realm has improved, and the guy on the opposite side is strong and his realm is also from the beginning in the middle of building the base, he was not sure to stop him. Brother Hizi, you let me go in Wanjia city, and I will give it back to you today, you shoot. Wang Tingshi's eyes were full of determination. Well, since I can't stop you, then you step on my corpse. You also provided inside information, saved my life, or you shot first. You shoot. You shoot. Neither of them wanted to take a shot, and lingered like this until. Boom, click, there was a sudden loud noise, and the huge array behind Wang Tingshi cracked a big gap. It's done. Ye Kong smiled smugly, taking advantage of Wang Ting's fascination, and her body flashed, and wiped her around. Wang Tingshi didn't understand why. How could this big group be inexplicably opened? It stands to reason that the matrix method set by his father will not make such a mistake. She couldn't control the others, and quickly went down with Ye Kong's figure. After entering the large array, I immediately felt that kind of holding force suddenly decreased, and returned to the feeling of normal water flow. Ye Kong gathered up the soil essence, and when he looked down, it was really magnificent. I saw a huge square high platform below the water surface, pyramid-shaped, layer upon layer, and each layer was engraved with countless runes, densely packed, and golden, bright and mysterious. At the highest point of the high platform, there is a small altar. At the center of the altar is a tall mirror with a height of 1 ellipse. There is a layer of dark blue light curtain in the mirror, and the star-like light flickers on the light curtain, as if it is a summer night sky. In the up, down, left, and right directions of the mirror, there are 4 golden letters, which are, Hu and Forbidden. Alas! When Ye Kong descended, approaching the pyramid, he found that there was no water around him, as if he had reached the land. Ye Kong had never seen this kind of waterproof ban in Kunpeng's cave house, and it was not surprising. Standing on the square altar at the top of the pyramid, Ye Kong looked down and looked around, and had to admire again the magnificence of this building. The pyramid is as high as 100 feet high, made of white jade-like stones, and each step is nearly 1 meter high. And on each floor and every stepstone, there are large and small, dense spiritual writings. At each of the 4 corners of each layer, there is an array of eyes. On each array of eyes, a top-grade spirit stone is inlaid to provide energy for the spiritual text of this layer. The fallen ancestor is also a stunning figure Ye Kong could not help but praise. There are also many major monks in the late Kangnan continent. In addition, there have been more falling or sitting down over the years. Can anyone come up with such a grand formation? The scale of Hongdi does not lie in the size of the pyramid, but in the denseness above it, a piece of different spiritual writing. You know, the refiner sect has only mastered a small amount of careful spiritual text, and it is not good for cattle. In the alchemy sect, no one nods, and no spirit is given to your magic weapon. Let's take a look at this Lingwen formation of the dead corpse of others, how great it is. In comparison, the sects of the refining ancestors carved some spirits on the implements, which was really pediatrics. Moreover, the cost of this formation is enormous. Around the pyramid, there are at least 1,000 top-grade spirit stones, that is, tens of millions of low-grade spirit stones need to be replaced constantly. Ye Kong now understands why Lei Miao emptied the treasure house of the mixed Yuan zone. Seeing Ye Kong already standing on the altar, Wang Tingshi sighed helplessly, put away the magic weapon, and stood beside him. In fact, Wang Tingshi also stood in this position for the first time. She was also amazed by the huge building. If you think of the small lake above, who can think of it, there is such a majestic building below. When he heard Ye Kong praise her father, Wang Tingshi felt better, saying, in fact, my father had already reached the late Yuan infant period 300 years ago. He didn't practice anymore. On the study of calculations, when I was born, he never cared about me, but was busy looking up ancient books, calculating, until I just remembered, he finally made a huge breakthrough, so he started to build this stone platform. It took 20 years, that's what made it. Ye Kong nodded, although the ancestors of the fallen ancestors had malicious speculations and endless plots, but in this matter, his achievements are indelible. Yekong asked again, is that the space channel hit in recent years? Wang Tingshi nodded. It should be, I don't care too much about it. Then why do you only open the way for monks in or below the base period? Your father doesn't want to go to Kangbei to see. Wang Tingshi replied, I once heard my father say that among the three races of humans and demons, Xianxian is the most disadvantaged of us humans. Oh, Yekan Tao heard this kind of statement for the first time. In his feelings, people are the smartest, the demon has no brain, and the devil doesn't know, it should be a very wild type. Wang Tingshi explained, of the three major races, the easiest to cultivate are the demons. They do not need to cultivate at all. They will automatically refine the aura from birth. When they reach a certain point, they will also realize the ancestral heritage. The magic spells most suitable for you second. The IQs are second. Although they have a slightly lower IQ at the beginning, they have a much stronger sense of aura than people. However, they have no inheritance, and they can't practice. So it was delayed. But as long as there is enough life, each demon can eventually become a monk. And people are different. People can't cultivate automatically, nor can they mobilize Reiki naturally. Most importantly, there are very few spiritual roots in human beings, and most of them are mortals who cannot sense Reiki. It was so Yekong nodded. He originally thought that human beings are the spirit of all things. Now he knows that in fact, human beings are much less expensive than other races in the practice of cultivation. Wang Tingshi said, if the space passage is wide, it is inevitable that those super monsters and powerful demons will enter the Kangnan, so my father only opened a passage for the base period and the following monks. When the monsters came to Kangnan, they were only built in the base period, and they would not cause trouble. Wang Tingshi pointed to the 4 big golden characters and said, these 4 words are the matrix method that restrains the space channel and prevents it from expanding naturally. Oh, in this case, let's take a look. Yekong Zhong became curious. Wang Tingshi wanted him to visit and asked him to leave. He didn't expect him to go in. Wang Tingshi shook his head. Kangbei, desolate and dangerous, monsters run rampant, demons raging. Don't hide, brother Hiza, I heard that this sect has sent 3 treasure hunters. Although 1 spirit stone mine was found, the 3 treasure hunters were seriously injured. I advise brother Hiza not to take risks. To the reader. We will soon be entering Kangbei. What treasures are there? What about the mysterious Yunzo and Yeazhu? Haha. Everyone recommends BRICS votes, do NT forget to vote.